Welcome to Build Stuff. BS features products and processes used in the crafting of custom motorcycles. BS also highlights builders' projects to share ideas and inspire others. Build Stuff episodes aren't scheduled, so don't forget to subscribe to Speed and Color, then turn on notifications so you don't miss any BS.
Hey there, how you doing? Well, it's been a while since we've done a Build Stuff episode, so I thought I better get one in for you. I haven't seen anything from any of the other builders lately. I know everybody's busy, as I am as well. But thought I would do an episode on the XS650 for you. There's been some cool things happening. We've been making good progress, just haven't had a lot of time for recording and editing and doing all that stuff. So here we go. Let's start at the back of the bike. We're going to start with the rear fender, and we'll kind of touch on a few things we've done. So the rear fender, really happy with the fender. This came from Jeff at Perth County. It's a Wyatt Gatling. If you want to give Jeff a call if you like the fender or you need something different, give Jeff a call, great guy. He'll get you whatever you need. The fender is good. I won't say great, but it's good. I have to massage it a little bit, but that's okay. The basics are there, and it's going to be very workable. To start, though, I needed to figure out the mounting points. Now, the sissy bar is going to provide the two mid-fender mounting points. I needed to figure out something for the front, and I'm going to tell you, I don't like a lot of fender mounts. I don't like those big plates. I don't like things that get in the way. And on this bike, with the seat off, you can really see it. There's a large open area here, and it's my goal to maintain this open area. I really like this where you can see through to the other side. There's not going to be an oil tank or electrical or anything like that. It's just going to be a big open space. I didn't even love the exhaust coming past here, but there's kind of nowhere else to run the exhaust. So I guess maybe we could have worked it down underneath. But I can live with this. I just really want to keep this open. So to keep that open, I wanted to keep the fender back, rotated on the wheel. I like it hanging at the back. The fender really nicely follows the lines of the tank and of the handlebars. And you'll see we did something kind of cool with the sissy bar too that I think is going to work out real nice. So I like that whole roundness to the back, that droopy look, that's working real well. To keep the fender back though, that means it shortens up here at the front. Like I say, maintains this big open area, but it made it a little bit challenging to figure out what we were going to do for mounts. And here's what I came up with. Let me move this out of the way. I'm just going to move the wheel back, take the fender off, because I don't want it to fall down. And the mounts for the fender, what I came up with, let me show you this first, because this helps you understand. So I've decided what I'm trying to do with this bike. I'm trying to do a lot of things that look like cooling fins. And I'll show you some stuff I did at the front in a minute. I found these turn signals that have this grill that is similar to cooling fins. And I thought that was really cool. I also found a headlight and tail light that have this same kind of fin. Now, if anybody knows them, Resurrection Cycle, who was at Bad Livin' Roadshow last year, they had a bunch of lights with the grills on them. I'd love to get a hold of those guys and see what they've got in stock. I've just really been having trouble. I don't think their email on their website works. I've had trouble getting a hold of them, but I'm going to reach out. Lee said try them through Instagram, so I'm going to try that later today. But if you do know how to get a hold of them, let them know that Bruce at Speed and Color is looking to catch up with them. If I can't catch up with them, I know Throttle Addiction has the headlight and tail light I'm after as well. Anyway, this is the style I'm going with, is this ribbed or grill look, depending on what you're talking about. So I picked up 4 of these, left and right, front and back, for this project. And when I was looking at the mounts for the Fender, I thought, how could I tie in my turn signals as well? I didn't really want to just put your standard tab on here and have the turn signal hung off of it. I thought, man, I'd like to do something different. And here's what I came up with. And if I get this out of the way, I can take this off. Oh. Why are these things always a challenge when you're trying to do a video, right? There we go. So I've been learning how to machine or turn things on a lathe over at Protospace, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. This is my first steel project. I've been working with aluminum. But anyway, I got into this. I went down to Metal Supermarket and I picked up some DOM tubing that has 3/4 inside diameter. I picked up solid bar that is 3/4 outside diameter. These fit together really, really nice. Really nice finish. There's no seam on the inside of the tubing that hangs it up or anything like that. These would also make really nice pivots if you had a situation like that. So I picked these up and I thought, you know, I don't want to drill a 3/4 inch hole in the frame. That's a pretty big hole and it creates a weak spot and stuff. So I thought, what am I going to do there? I turned this down to 1/2 inch for a little bit more than the width of the frame. So this piece goes into the frame and comes through, and I've got enough room to weld it on the outside. I don't want to put a weld on the inside because I don't want to do anything that's going to interfere with this. And yeah, I could grind it down and everything, but you know what? It doesn't need to be welded on the inside because this, and I've notched this with my tubing notcher. I'll try and throw a picture of the tubing notcher, and it's a very basic one. Boy, I like having a tubing notcher though, because they just make such a nice job of this, makes it real easy. You just use a hole saw the same size as your tubing that you're matching up to, and that made this really nice. So got out the old tubing notcher. Alfred and I did this, and I don't think that's going to go on there. This is going to have to be out of the frame. So that slides over there, and then this goes back in the frame. And I guess I could take this back wheel off, but I didn't really want to do that. There we go. Okay. This, yeah, and that's the right orientation. So this sticks out, this welds around here. Between this welded here, the fit of these two pieces on the back side, and this welded here, I don't think there's going to be any problem with strength in the frame tube. We haven't compromised that at all. That's what I did to mount the Fender, and I did shape this. I shaped the end to match the curve of the Fender, so that's nice. It matches. Probably going to use like a nylon washer. I don't think I've got enough room for a leather washer, and I'm not sure I really like the look of a big leather washer in there anyway, but I picked up some really nice nylon washers, and I think a nylon washer in there just to protect the paint going to be really nice. And these will get painted with the frame, of course, because they're welded onto it, so it only makes sense that they would get painted. Now, this needed to mount to that somehow. So what I've done is I have drilled out this piece, and I don't know if you guys are going to get to see that, but I drilled this all the way through with the right size for an M10 1.5 thread, which is what this is. Didn't love the fact that it was metric, because I'm trying to keep the bike where the engine is metric and everything else is standard. Hasn't worked out quite that way. But with this, what I do is run the wires through the mount. Oops. There we go. Run the wires through the mount. And then, of course, this just threads onto here. Now, you're doing this when this is in here, by the way. What's cool about this is now the wires are on the inside of the fender. They go through. So on here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drill out the center of a bolt, probably do it on the lathe, drill out the center of an M10 bolt, and run the wires through it as well. So the bolt is holding the fender to this, the wires run through, and now the wires are on the inside of the fender. Little bit of probably like an aluminum fuel line tube, something fairly small. Run that on the inside of the fender, because the fender has this nice lip on here. I can run the tube, actually that's the back end, run the tube along here back to where the sissy bar mount is. And then I'm going to come out at the sissy bar, and on the back side of the sissy bar, I'm going to run another tube down to the frame, and then probably take the wires inside the frame. I'm either going to run a tube on the back side of the frame or go right into the frame tube. That's going to really hide those wires. It's going to make the turn signals really slick, and that no wiring will be showing or anything. It just goes in, and of course I have to cross the fender. I have to decide which side of the fender I'm running the wiring down. Not really a very big deal. But I thought that made a pretty nice mount, pretty clean, gets my turn signals mounted, and then everything, fender and turn signals are mounted right on this same piece. So there you go. I'm pretty happy with that. I thought and of course after I drilled this, I tapped it, and I tapped it from each side and stopped it before center, and yeah, so it's all good. I thought that was a pretty slick setup. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's move on to, well, you know what? I think you can probably see it with the camera right there. We've got the master cylinder mounted down here now for the rear brake. Well, that's the only brake on the bike. There is no front brake. I'm using a Sportster master cylinder. I went with a four-piston rear caliper. Because there's only one brake, I thought, four-piston, a little more stopping power isn't a bad idea. I'm sure it's just going to lock up the back wheel, but it's all good. It's a fairly light bike, so it's not going to take a whole bunch of stopping power to get it slowed down. With the four-piston caliper, it says that it's mid-USA, and it says that you do require a master cylinder with a minimum 3/4 bore. The Sportster one is a 3/4 bore, so that's really good, and that's a common piece. That's the old one off my Sportster. I'll probably buy a new one, but for lineup and fitting purposes, that one works just fine. So that's what we're doing there. Mid controls, stand by. Got things happening. I'm kind of excited about where we're going. So stand by on that one. Exhaust system. I got to tell you, I'm kind of proud of myself here. This is the first exhaust system I have ever done. Alfred and I worked on this one, and I think it's pretty good. There's certainly clearance everywhere, and everything. We're good that way. You know, some of the turns, some of the bends. Yeah, okay. You could maybe make little filler pieces and get them a little smoother. They're not terrible. It is just exhaust. It's just pushing exhaust gas through it. So I think it's going to be fine. Like I say, I'm pretty happy with the way it all worked out. The only thing left to do here now is to make a bracket, and I'm not quite sure where that's going yet. I could make a bracket that comes off the bottom of the frame here and ties the two pipes together to the frame. Wouldn't be a bad setup, but again, I kind of like this openness, and I'd almost like this exhaust to appear to be floating back here. There is the motor mount right here, and there's the possibility of tying a bracket holding the two pipes together over to this motor mount bolt. That'd be plenty solid. Comes back to about here. That's not much exhaust left past that mount. That could be pretty slick, and again, it would maintain this open look that I'm trying to maintain there. So that's what's going on there. Exhaust system, a little bit challenging. Wish I was a better welder, but we got it together. I'm also not, if anybody's got ideas for exhaust tips, this is not bad. I have to make a little adjustment there, but not a big deal. This is not bad. I don't mind the slash look. It worked out okay. What I really envisioned, and I would need to get some tubing bent, so I'm going to look into that this week. I really envisioned kind of a droop that would match the curve that everything has here. So I really wasn't looking to do a slash, but with the kit, with the bends you get and everything, this kind of worked out to be, you know, the best we could do with what we had. So I'm not unhappy with it, but I'm also thinking there might be a way that I can make that better. So this is just tacked right now. It's not too late to change it. If I can get somebody to do a slow bend for me that'll resemble the curve of the tank, that's what I'd really like to do. What I want to show you is at the front of the bike here. Let me move the camera and I'll show you what I did up front. All right, here we are at the front of the bike. I don't know if you noticed these super cool handlebars here. I'm going to do an episode on some Canadian manufacturers on speed and color. So there's an episode coming up. I'm going to talk about the bars and the sissy bar. Suffice to say for right now, Graham over at Almost Old School did this stuff up. Polished stainless, beautiful work. The guy's a wizard. Really, really like the stuff. Jeff at Perth County Moto can get you onto Graham. You can look him up on Instagram, whatever. Really, really nice product. Really, really innovative. Good guy. You know, those bars are a one-off. They were made to my specs just for this build, and I'm really happy with the result. So we'll talk more about those on speed and color. I might touch on them on build stuff here in an episode. But what I wanted to talk about, first, before we go too much further, I'm going to try not to get in the way. I don't know if you can still see me. I wanted to talk about the exhaust because you got to see it from back here. Pretty cool the way it worked out at the front. The left-hand side goes out and around the frame tube. and comes back through here. The right side comes down and makes the lower pipe. I think this is fairly common. This is a TC Bros kit. You know, no big deal. You get a bunch of bends and straights and stuff and you figure it out. And like I say, this I think is fairly common. It's a good way to do it. Yeah, I'm happy with it, and I didn't want the exhaust running down at the bottom. I really like it up in here for this particular build. That's what we did there. There's really nothing new in this area, but I wanted to show you these, and I'll put a close-up of this in. So with this front end, I picked this front end up a few years ago from a shop going out of business, had it kicking around. Didn't know what I was going to do with it necessarily. Thought it would look good on here. It sure works out well. I thought it was shorter than it actually is. It turns out it's a little bit longer than I thought, but it's not bad. I think the attitude of the bike with this front end on is good. I like the angles and everything, so I'm pretty happy with all of that. The problem was I went with a wheel, and it's not a problem that I went with this wheel. I went with a 21-inch wheel, no front brake. That's the look I want. That's the style I want. That's what I'm doing. Got the wheel, wanted to go with skinny tires. Again, that's the look I was going for. Got it on this front end, and man, the front end is wide, the wheel isn't, and it needed spacers. So I looked at a couple different things, and of course you can buy spacers, that's not a big deal. But I had done a practice piece at Protospace when I started learning how to use the lathe. And the way I did that practice piece, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I did this, I have a 1/8 inch parting tool. Very common for cutting stuff off, of course. So I have my parting tool, and I looked at the aluminum and I thought, well, with an 1/8 inch, it worked out really well spacing wise. If you keep moving over 1/4 of an inch and taking the parting tool in, you can take it into whatever depth you want, and you wind up with this, I think, what's really a nice rib look or cooling fin kind of look. This is going to be my style or theme on this bike. So I've done the spacers. Just so you know, when I measured out this front end rocker to rocker, inside to inside, was 9 1/4 inches. Width of the bearings on the wheel is 3 1/4. That left 6 inches. So my spacers are 3 inches each. And of course, doing the rib look in 1/4 inch increments, or low for an 1/8, high for an 1/8, 1/4 inch increments, it worked out beautifully because the end that goes against the bearing is 1 1/16 inches, which is the OD of that bearing surface. And from what I could learn, 1 1/16 inches is what you want your spacer to be against the bearing. But on the other end, at the rocker, it's 1 1/4 inches. So just a little bit more surface contact on the rocker, help keep things tight, square, all that kind of stuff. So that's how that worked out. I'm going to polish these before we do a final assembly. I think they're going to look pretty good all polished up. And yeah, I invested in, this is a 3/4 inch axle. This bike has 3/4 inch axle front and back. That frame, the hardtail section, which came from S&S Customs, that had the 3/4 option, so the axle plates are for 3/4 axle. And Sean is such a good guy, he even includes a 3/4 inch axle with his hardtail. So that's kind of cool. Everything's 3/4. The wheels are set up. That's typical Harley stuff, 3/4 inch. So that all worked out really well. So I bought a really good 3/4 inch drill bit, and again, on the lathe, it was easy, chuck it up, drill out the center 3/4 inch, and I got great spacers. That's what I've done there. Other than that, don't have too much to tell you about right now. I hope this gives you some ideas. If you got questions about any of this stuff, please ask. Happy to get your comments, your questions. Let me know if you think what I'm doing is cool. I love hearing that. If you think I have my head up my ass, don't love hearing it, but you can tell me. It's okay. Anyway, that's where we're at. Hey, build stuff. You know what? Build stuff. That's the key here. Go build stuff. All right. Build safe, ride safe, be cool, and watch for that next episode of Speed and Color. On the most recent one, we touched on the tariff situation between the US and Canada. On the next one, I'm going to talk about Canadian manufacturers, because I think it's important for us to, absolutely nothing wrong with American manufacturers. Love you guys, buy a lot of product or have bought a lot of product over the years. But I just think we need to give our Canadian manufacturers a little shot in the arm and say, hey, we love you and appreciate you too. All right? Hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.